evening, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You got many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. We are getting right around the corner from Memorial Day coming up, which is the day that we remember those who lost their lives serving for our country. A lot of people get it confused. They think Memorial Day is a time to go to the beach and barbecues and a day off and have huge parties. No, that'd be the 4th of July, and even for Veterans Day, you can do stuff like that. But Memorial Day is for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. And, through the years, we've gotten further and further away from that understanding of what Memorial Day is. And one of the reasons, I believe, one of the main reasons that people have forgotten about its true meaning is you can turn to, whether it's a newspaper, a current edition of any magazine, watching a commercial on television, on social media, doesn't really matter. Any place that runs advertisements, you will see Memorial Day sales. Items that are for sale, especially for Memorial Day. Whether it's car dealerships, furniture stores, it doesn't matter. You pick the major company, and they're going to have a wonderful sale for Memorial Day, where nothing at all is mentioned about the reason why we're having the day. And if you want to give a sale of an item, how about it be for those loved ones, the family members that are left behind? That's who should be getting some kind of a discount. Why is the rest of America getting a sale, an item titled under Memorial Day? So I've got a few suggestions. Number one, the best way to fight back against this and maybe try and get some kind of change is make a point of not purchasing anything that's under the title Memorial Day. Just don't do it. Let them realize that what they're doing is kind of morally wrong. The other thing I'd like to say about Memorial Day is, if you haven't already made plans, make plans to stop by a veteran's cemetery or go by a veteran's home. Go by a VA hospital. They'd be more than happy to allow you to come in, you got to wash your hands and maybe even put on a mask, but come in and say hello to some of the veterans that are there, especially if it's a VA facility. They love to have visitors, and let them know how much you care about the sacrifices they made for our country, as well as their brothers and sisters that paid the ultimate sacrifice. But whatever you're doing this Memorial Day weekend, I hope that you're doing it safely. But most of all, I hope that you will remember what the day is about and make sure you teach that to the youth as well. I've got some exciting news that I'd like to share with you all that is coming up. I will be on Media Row broadcasting my show live, as well as doing interviews with the guest speakers at the People's Convention in Detroit, Michigan, June 14th, 15th, and 16th. If you haven't heard about this yet, the convention will feature some of the most prominent names in the conservative movement. A straw poll will take place. Thousands of attendees from all over America will be there. Dozens of sponsoring organizations for the RNC. And it will be 1 month before the RNC convention. The People's Convention will serve as a natural focal point of the natural conservative political movement ahead of the 2024 election. Attendees will leave equipped with the tools, knowledge, and network to lead their communities and win this November. I'll be posting more information as we get closer to the convention coming days. But for tonight, what you need to know the most is the website, the information where you can go. you can get tickets and attend this great American Patriot event. And that can be found at www.acon.tpaction.com, or just Google the People's Convention 2024 Detroit. Some of the guest speakers, who's going to be there? Why would you want to go to this convention? Well, let's talk about who's going to be there. Donald J. Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Steve Bannon, Dr. Ben Carson, Charlie Kirk, Tulsi Gabbard, Candace Owens, Laura Trump, Rick Scott, Benny Johnson, Kimberly Guilfoyle, Lee Zeldin, Matt Gaetz, Brandon Tatum, Eli Crane, Eric Bolson, and every day the list is growing. If you can make the convention, please stop by and say hello. I would love nothing more than to meet those of you who support this show every Tuesday and Thursday night, and support not only my YouTube channel, but my Rumble channel, my LinkedIn channel, my X account, and on Facebook. I would like to shake your hand in person and say thank you. I will have a booth will be set up there where I can broadcast live on Media Row with the likes of Fox News and many other news media outlets that will be there to cover the event. So make a point, if you're there, to come by and say hi. The politicians who top the list of preferred running mates for former President Donald Trump in a new poll in a key northeastern swing state is not even a Republican. And that's kind of interesting. It's former representative from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, who ran for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, but left her party 2 years later to become an independent. She stands atop the list of a new University of New Hampshire Survey Center poll. Nearly a quarter, 25% of voters who indicated they're not supporting President Biden in New Hampshire named her when asked their preference of whom Trump should choose as his running mate. Gilbert stood 7 points ahead of multimillionaire biotech entrepreneur Victor Ramsey, who was one of roughly a dozen candidates who unsuccessfully challenged Trump in 2024 GOP presidential nomination. And oh, by the way, he will also be at the convention. Ramsey endorsed Trump as he dropped out of the White House race in January. Two more former primary rivals, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, stood at 13% and 9% support. Respectively, in the poll, Scott endorsed Trump in January and has regularly appeared with the former president on the campaign trail in recent months. DeSantis endorsed Trump as he dropped out of the race back in January, but has not joined the former president on the campaign trail, although I do believe he will be soon. 6% of those questions prefer South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, a Trump ally and supporter, as the former president's choice for a running mate. I would like to know in the comments of this show who you think Donald Trump should pick as his running mate. Now, let's talk a little bit about Tulsi Gabbard. If you didn't know this, she is an officer in the Hawaii National Guard, besides the fact that she was a congresswoman, and she's also an Iraq War veteran. She made history as the first Samoan American elected to Congress. She was once a member of the progressive wing of the Democrat Party and endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders for the 2016 Democratic presidential nomination. So at least she wasn't for Hillary Clinton. She mounted a long shot White House bid for her own in 2020, but since leaving the Democrat Party, she has started appealing to conservatives across this country. At a Fox News town hall in South Carolina this past February, ahead of the state's GOP presidential primary, Trump indicated that at least a half dozen contenders, including her, on his short list for a running mate. She's praised Trump many times. Earlier this year, she said, "I met a lot of strong, tough people in my life. I can't think of a single one who could not only withstand all that is coming at Donald Trump without crumbling, but someone who would actually choose to keep fighting against the entire Washington establishment." She also said that she'd be open to serving on the national ticket with Trump if selected. She's a very familiar face in New Hampshire, which may play a part in her topping the list of preferred Trump running mates in a new poll. She spent plenty of time in the first and then nation presidential primary state in 2019 during her White House run. And she returned to the Granite State a handful of times in 2022. And she joined retired Army General Don Bolduc of the campaign trail as that year's Republican Senate nominee. So, who do you think Donald Trump should pick? Should it be an independent like Tulsi? Should it be a straight up Republican? Should it be a woman of color? I really would like to know. So in the comments of this video, please share your thoughts. So if you're Joe Biden, I don't wish that on nobody, or in his corrupt administration, and you see the poll numbers 6 months out of the election lower than snail slime as they are, what's the best way to cheat? Knowing that Republicans are all over watching Dominion voting machines this time. We know the fix that was in. Well, how about allowing the more than 2 million illegal aliens you already allowed into the country to vote? That's right. To hell with the United States Constitution. Since it was Joe Biden and his administration that allowed them here with open arms, chances are that's who they will vote for. Don't think that's possible? Well, you better think again. Not only is it possible, but they did it right next to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. Thankfully, the House of Representatives advanced a bill today repealing a Washington, D.C. law that allows non-citizens to vote. And thankfully, the Republicans were not alone in this bill. 52 Democrats joined Republicans on the measure, with 143 Democrats voting against it for a final 262 to 143 vote. The D.C. law was passed by the Progressive City Council back in 2022 and recently survived a court challenge earlier this year. Republicans who opposed the bill warned that allowing non-Americans to help decide what officials run the nation's capital would have negative effects on national security, among other things. But keep in mind, 143 Democrats voted to allow illegal aliens to vote in the U.S. elections. That is a scary thought. That is, we're running out of options on how to win. What we're doing is we're talking about passing a law that prohibits citizens of foreign countries from voting in elections in D.C. It prohibits people that are here illegally from voting in elections. It prohibits spies from China from voting in elections. It prohibits people that are here from Russia that have wishes of ill will for the United States voting elections in D.C. Representative Garrett Graves of Louisiana said, Lawmakers have also accused Democrats of trying to tip the scale at the ballot by encouraging illegal immigrants to sign up to vote. And that's happening, my friends, all across this country right now in Democrat-led areas. It isn't just DC. And of course, the left denies it. Representative Augusta Palogue of Texas, who introduced the bill last year, emphasized the close margin that critical elections have been won by in recent years. He argued that allowing even the chance of undocumented people to vote could sway an entire race. They're encouraging people to vote for mayor, for attorney general, for members of the State Board of Education, and more. It's the latest effort in a wider crackdown on voter security that House GOP leaders are mounting roughly 6 months before the November 2024 election. The House-wide vote on DC's local law comes on the same day that a key House committee is posed to advance the bill to heighten enforcement and penalties for undocumented people who vote in federal elections. The fact that 146 Democrats said piss on the Constitution tells you all you need to know, my friends. Over the past few years, since Russia invaded Ukraine, actually, I have told you about the threat facing all of mankind regarding Russia and nuclear weapons. Besides talking about it here on my show, I've also done several videos about it. Russian military leaders and Putin himself continue to make threats to use nuclear weapons to end the war in Ukraine. Many liberals and Democrats call my reporting on such a threat nothing more than a right-wing conspiracy theory. Well, believe what you must. But Russia has begun military exercises to increase the readiness of tactical nuclear weapons and forces. And where are they doing it at? On the border with Ukraine. Where did I get this so-called right-wing conspiracy theory from? The Russian Defense Ministry itself. Google it. And it's also on militarynews.com. The ministry said the exercise is aimed at maintaining the readiness of personnel and equipment of non-strategic nuclear weapons combat units to respond as needed unconditionally to ensure the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Russian state. If any state launches a nuclear weapon, and in this case, we're talking about Russia against Ukraine, whether it's a full-scale ICBM, which I don't think it would be, because that would affect their own country, but a tactical nuclear weapon. It is NATO's response to retaliate the same. That's what's built into the doctrine, which means we would see the end of civilization as we know it, because it wouldn't stop. They launch a nuclear weapon at Ukraine. NATO launches nuclear weapons at Russia. Russia launches all their nuclear weapons at the West, and it just spreads like a wildfire. Moving on, just how sick, twisted, and demented is the left in our society? Well, the Republican National Committee headquarters in Washington, D.C., the RNC, was forced under lockdown yesterday morning. The New York Post reported lockdown came after 2 blood vials were found in a package that was addressed to former President Donald Trump, prompting law enforcement to label the incident a biological attack. While no injuries were reported from the incident, the New York Post reported that a hazmat unit responded to the RNC headquarters, that RNC staff members were forced to exit the building for roughly an hour. The U.S. Capitol Police released a statement explaining that the suspicious package, which contained 2 vials of blood, were cleared by the Hazmat Unit Response Division. Capitol Police officials added, the source of the package and its contents we further investigated. We will try and find out who did this and bring them to justice. In a statement released after the bio attack, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley said, today, vials of blood were sent to the RNC headquarters in D.C. We are thankful to law enforcement who responded quickly and ensured everyone's safety. Said it explained that the lockdown had been cleared after the RNC staff had returned to their regular office duties, as the RNC remains unintimidated and undeterred in its effort to elect former President Donald Trump to another term in the White House. He continued, this revolting attack comes on the heels of pro-Hamas protesters violently demonstrating on college campuses and deranged Biden supporters physically attacking our campaign volunteers for supporting President Trump. He said that while Republicans are fighting to secure the border between the United States and Mexico, strengthening the American economy, and reducing violent crime across the country, the fringe left is wreaking havoc, sowing fear, and lying to the public in bad faith efforts to divide Americans and sway an election. The RNC chairman added, no matter what violent tactics Biden's extreme left supporters try next, we stand firm in our mission to deliver greater freedom and opportunity for all Americans, and we won't back down. And I thank you for that statement, nor would we expect you to back down. The death of Iranian president following a helicopter crash in northern Iran this week sent shockwaves throughout the Middle East and the world. While his sudden passing is unlikely to bring any immediate change within Iran, it does provide an opportunity for Team Biden to reset its approach and keep America, Israel, and the entire Middle East safe. Unfortunately, instead of deterring the regime focused on the murder of Americans and our allies, the Biden administration offered its condolences. In remembering him, we should not honor the men who earned the title Butcher of Tehran for his role as chief executioner during the mass murder of tens of thousands of innocent Iranians in 1988. We may have later held the title of president, but in the end, he was little more than Ayatollah's chief murderer. His job was to inflict pain on the Iranian people while the Ayatollah's wicked regime continued to loot and plunder them. A fact the world witnessed recently when the regime brutally cracked down in response to widespread protests in 2022 and just last year in 2023. In his memory, FKEP et al. Should be consigned to the darkest chapters of human history. The world is a better place without him. For these reasons, it's absolutely shameful that our own State Department offered the regime America's official condolences, approved by Joe Biden, upon receiving word of his death, while mentioning our support for the Iranian people. What a tactless, obscene insult to the countless victims America should be honored in the wake of his death. The mothers, daughters, fathers, and sons who believed in a better future for their country and who were killed in terrible ways by this thug. We should remember young women like Mashaya Amandi, who was killed by Iranian mortality police for refusing to wear her hijab in accordance with the regime's standards. We should save our condolences for her family and the many others who continue to lose loved ones to the regime's medieval and brutal oppression. His death, though unexpected, is unlikely to trigger any immediate change or reform within Iran, and the true power lies with Ayatollah Khomeini and the ruling clerics. Even as the internal reshuffle takes place in response to his death, the regime will continue to crack down on internal dissent as it pursues the development of nuclear weapons and works to destroy Israel. Remember, Iran, the Ayatollah, is on record saying, once we have the capability to launch a nuclear weapon in an ICBM, we will wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Despite this, his death does not offer the Biden administration a chance to make meaningful, productive changes to its Iran policy that benefit Americans' interests and keep America and our allies safe. First, the administration should stop coddling the regime and its proxies. Swift action should be taken to displace the Iran-backed terrorist presence in the Red Sea and make the global shipping lanes accessible once more for commercial vessels. Full support should be given to Israel as it enters the final stages of its campaign to destroy Hamas. Doing so would send a clear message to both the regime and whoever Ayatollah Khomeini appoints as his successor. Further, the Biden administration and the world should do more to support the organized opposition movement that's taking place inside Iran. The Iranian people don't want to be treated this way. The mullahs constantly say that there is no alternative to their regime. Yet they spend billions of dollars to demonize this very alternative. Mass protests on a nationwide scale, like those we saw inside Iran in the past few years, do not happen spontaneously or by accident. They happen because they're organized groups that continue to advance a vision of a free Iran, despite the regime's brutality. These people deserve our support. Unfortunately, the Biden administration's offering of condolences to the regime signals that it has not learned from its mistakes. It has not learned that paying $6 billion in exchange for 5 American hostages only encourages more hostage taking. Even after more Americans were taken on October 7th by Hamas, supported by Iran. It hasn't learned that striking empty warehouses with bombs or taking out a few knuckleheads in the desert only emboldened the regime in its assault on American interest. It hasn't learned that failing to enforce sanctions on the regime only allow it to reap record profits while feeling no pressure to cease its terrorist activities. Iran is the leading global state sponsor of terrorism on planet Earth. It is growing more powerful as it deepens ties with the malefactors like Russia and China, and is primary obstacle to achieving peace in the Middle East. We have a president who understood these basic facts and took the necessary steps to keep America and the world safe. Next year, let's hope that same president is back in the Oval Office. Countdown. Continuing down the rabbit hole to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable. Hours after the release of several damning emails revealing his proactive COVID-era communications, a former top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci offered excuses and apologies in front of Congress, but few real answers. During a contentious congressional showdown, Dr. David Morens, M-O-R-E-N-S, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease senior advisor, appeared before the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability yesterday afternoon with few insights about the alarming messages, but a host of apologies to lawmakers. The newly released emails detail interactions between the doctor and Dr. Peter Datsky, president of the EcoHealth Alliance, a non-governmental organization that funded coronavirus research in Wuhan, China. It's just something I'm very ashamed. I can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, he said, of the emails, much of which he attributed to being just black humor. Republican lawmakers accused him of deleting emails and using his personal email account to skirt Freedom of Information requests. In one of the newly released emails, he said he learned of the Freedom of Information Act lady. He learned from the Freedom of Information Act lady how to make emails disappear before the search even starts. So I think we're all safe. Plus, I deleted most of those earlier emails after sending them to Gmail, he says in the message. During Wednesday's testimony, he said it was just a joke. When House Representative Richard McCormick asked what he learned from the Freedom of Information lady, whoever that happens to be, "Are you sure about that? We can subpoena her emails too once we know who she is. You said she gave you advice. So you were lying then, but telling the truth to us now?" "I wasn't lying. I was making a joke. I said something like, I have a way to make it go away." He also wrote from his personal email account saying, "We're all smart enough to know to never have smoking guns. And if we did, we wouldn't put them in emails. And if we found them, we would delete them." Chairman James Comer asked him if he deleted any records or had any conversations with Dr. Fauci regarding the deletions. He responded, "Not to my knowledge." But again, we're at the issue of defining what's a federal record. Well, how does that sound familiar? Bill Clinton going, "What's sex mean? What's the definition of sex?" Hillary saying, "What's it matter? How somebody was killed in Benghazi?" He said, "I delete a lot of emails. I do it every day." At one point in the hearing, he offered, "I don't know what to say except I'm sorry." In another released email, he appeared to express concern about what was being sent to his work email and what was sent to his personal email, informing those on the email chain that they did not need to worry and that he would delete anything I don't want to see in the New York Times. Let me stop for just a second. If anybody's confused about what is or is not a government email, if it is on a government server and it's a .gov email, you cannot delete it like Hillary Clinton did to 30,000 plus emails and on her private server that she had to escape any Freedom of Information Act request. And they know that. He's playing stupid. You know, as you know, I try to always communicate on Gmail because my NIH mail is Freedom of Information acted consistently. So he already knows in saying that in this statement. He wrote on September 2021 email, which was sent at the time to many scientists involved in the debate about the origins of COVID-19 virus. "Stuff sent to my Gmail gets to my phone, but not my NIH computer," he said in the email. Once again, Democrats trying to cover up their crimes. While Joe Biden continues to say he was not involved with or knew anything about his son Hunter Biden's business deals, Hunter's emails, text messages, and laptop paint such a different picture. Newly released messages from the House Ways and Means Committee show Hunter Biden proposing a meeting in New York City between the boss of a Chinese energy company and Joe Biden, who at the time was the vice president of the United States, along with Joe's brother, Jim Biden. Can you meet this evening early? Hunter Biden asked Yang Donglu, CEO of CEFC Global Strategic Holdings, in a text message the evening of December 12, 2017. He said, "My father will be in New York also, and he wants me to attend the Sandy Hook Memorial Service with him, and I would like him to meet you along with my uncle, and then you and I can talk. Let me know if that works. I'm sorry for the late notice. I got off the red eye in Baltimore from LA and taking a little nap before I got this message," Hunter added. I think taking a little nap probably meant that he was going to do a little meth. Yang Dong told Hunter no problem and asked to let him know when and where to meet. Less than 2 hours after the proposed meeting among the four individuals, Hunter Biden messaged him, asking him to call, saying he was anxiously awaiting for his report from a meeting in China. "I am still in China, apologizing for not getting back to you sooner. You have been talking to Kevin," apparently to reference CEFC's China energy executive named Ganwing Dong. "I didn't get to see the chairman on this trip, but President Chen asked me to convey to you that while we attach great importance to working with you, Hunter, under the current circumstances, it is almost impossible to move forward on any of the projects with you. There are a few key dates in the next weeks. We are focused on those legal challenges and cannot afford to do anything that have any potential of being misunderstood or misconstrued. He sincerely hopes that you can understand our situation and looks forward to removing those legal uncertainties and working with you again." He's relaying from the leader of China to Hunter Biden. "I am coming back next week and I can meet to explain face-to-face if necessary. Thank you." A former Hunter Biden business associate slammed the Biden family in a statement about the exchange between Hunter and Yang Dong, saying, "This is a great exhibit of their nonsense and lies. Yet another example of them just blatantly lying to the American public." The former associate added, Hunter's uncle emailed Hunter with Yang Dong in the subject line of an email that day after the meeting, a Town and Country magazine profile piece, and photos of a gala matchup the same date and time of the meeting that took place in New York on the evening of December 12, 2017. In addition to the message between Hunter and Yang Dong, a photo of Yang Dong's business card was included in the document released by the House Ways and Means Committee. Yang Dong was tapped to be the CEO of CEFC in March of 2024 and was listed as the general manager according to the 2016 Securities and Exchange Commission filing. Hunter Biden's proposal of a meeting between his father and Yang Dong wouldn't have been the first time Joe Biden met with a top executive of CEFC, although he continues to say it never happened. Hunter Biden's former business partner, Rob Walker, said in a transcribed interview earlier this year, which I reported right here on this show, Joe Biden showed up at the Four Seasons Hotel in a restaurant in a private room in Washington, D.C., and addressed nearly a dozen of the CEFC linked executives during his visit, including Chairman Yang Zemin, who Hunter Biden sent his best wishes on behalf of the entire Biden family in a 2017 email. I hope my letter finds you well. I regret missing you on my last visit to the United States. Hunter Biden wrote in a June 2017 email, meaning his last visit. Please accept the best wishes for my entire Biden family, as well as my partners. We all hope to see you here again soon, or in Shanghai, he added. That same year, the China CEFC CEO gave Hunter Biden a 3.16 carat diamond worth $80,000. China executive giving him a $80,000 diamond. Walker went on to detail Joe Biden's presence at that meeting, saying he wasn't there the entire time of the meeting, but Joe Biden was there. He spoke, normal pleasantries. Walker also testified that the visit and Biden's appearance took place before his Robertson Walker LLC received $3 million from State Energy HK Limited, a CEFC-linked entity, but Joe Biden continues to maintain he was not involved in any of his business ventures nor met with any of Hunter's business partners. President Biden has repeatedly insisted he had no knowledge of his son's foreign business dealings, but records show and are proving that he met with more than a dozen of Hunter's business associates, foreign and domestic. And some of those associates and top staffers at Hunter Biden's now defunct company visited the Obama White House more than 90 times when Joe Biden was vice president. Joe, you can't get away from pictures of you with these executives, emails about you with these executives, White House visitor logs meeting with these executives. But you continue to say you know nothing. I had never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings, Biden told Fox News reporter Peter Doocy as he jabbed his finger in Ducey's face on the campaign trail in Iowa in 2019. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. Everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right questions, Joe Biden said. I don't discuss businesses with my son, Biden said again a month later in October 2019. In the fall of 2023, Hunter's attorney claimed Hunter did not share his businesses or his profits with his father, making another notable shift in the narrative responding to allegations that link President Biden to his son's business dealings. Fox News Digital has published several reports contradicting the White House's claims. The House Oversight Committee released a report earlier this year claiming Joe Biden met with nearly every foreign business associate paid by the Biden family and that paid money to the Biden family. Joe Biden interacted with nearly all of his son's business dealings, foreign business associates. President Biden spoke by phone, attended dinners and meetings, and had coffee with his son's foreign business associates. These individuals include Russian, Pakistani, and Burisma executives and Chinese nationals who collectively funneled millions of dollars to Joe Biden's son, Hunter, and Joe Biden's brother. Joe Biden claims he was never there. He knows nothing about it. There are photographs that were on Hunter Biden's laptop of Joe Biden meeting with the same people he claims he never met with and knows nothing about. And it also backs up Hunter's ex-business partners that also testified that, hell yeah, Joe Biden knew about it. He was involved in the whole scheme. Hunter was setting up people to meet with his daddy as vice president for favors in exchange for things like $80,000 diamonds. And millions of dollars funneled through many different LLCs that were set up to hide this money. And we know that thanks to Hunter Biden's laptop and thanks to the whistleblowers that were Hunter Biden's former partners. Every speech the President of the United States makes goes in a transcript and it goes up on whitehouse.gov, the website. And my show on Tuesday, I tell you about some of the gaffes that Biden made during his Sunday speech at the NAACP that was just out there. Total made up bullshit. Well, the transcript did go up, and all 9 of the lies were corrected. Of course, you can always go online anywhere. You can see it right here on YouTube. You can see it on Rumble. You can see it anywhere. It's all over social media of Joe Biden's speech at the NAACP this past Sunday. You can hear him say it himself, and you can know that the White House changed all this shit because the commander-in-chief is an idiot, babbling, gaffing, mentally unstable. The White House transcript made 9 corrections to Biden's gaffe-filled speech. Biden made multiple confusing comments and flubbed words while speaking to the Civil Rights Organization in Michigan. One notable flub included his suggestion he was vice president during the COVID-19 pandemic, which began nearly 4 years after he left office as vice president. When I was vice president, things were kind of bad during the pandemic, Biden said near the beginning of his remarks. And what happened was Brock said to me, go to Detroit, help fix it. The White House correction implied that Biden intended to say recession, referencing the Great Recession when he assumed the vice presidency in 2009, although he claims there wasn't a recession. And when I was vice president, things were kind of bad during the pandemic, now says recession. And what happened was Brock said to me, go to Detroit and help fix it. The transcript now reads. Other fixed gaffes include Biden claiming that families save $800,000 per year from the Affordable Care Act. Okay, how much money, think about this. How much money do you have if you're saving $800,000 a year? First off, who the hell are you covering? All of the NFL? All the players in the NFL are being covered for this amount of money? Insisting that he's fighting corporate landlords who keep rents down and incorrectly calling the group the NAAC. Biden also mispronounced the words inspiring and insurrectionist, calling them something that was similar but not even a real word, as you've seen him do hundreds of times. Just Google any of his speeches. He's going to babble something that just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris is good at that too. These words were also corrected in the transcript. In a statement to Fox News Digital, Acting Deputy Press Secretary Sam Mitchell said, we're focused on the substance of the transcript and the heart of President Biden's speech. How he is fighting for Americans by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, making transformational investments in HBCUs, and protecting Medicare and Social Security. Biden's gaffes have been on full display recently as the president has begun making more campaign event stops. One week in April featured no fewer than 4 embarrassing, controversial comments that included Biden appearing to repeat scripted instructions while reading the teleprompter. Imagine what we could do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. Audience members could be heard laughing after the comment, but Biden continued, seemingly not noticing what he had said, because he doesn't notice what he said, because he's just, look, I'm not making fun of the man. As we get older, that's what happens to our brain. We forget stuff. We make up shit. I mean, that's just part of, not everybody is that way. I mean, some people live to be over 100 and they're perfectly mentally fine, which is rare. But most of us, when we get up there in age, we're just not going to be the same. And that's what's happening to Joe Biden. Whether it's dementia or some other type of many different type of mental illnesses, whatever's happening is happening to him. And sadly, it's being done on the world stage. Sadly, other countries are looking at this and laughing. And sadly, they've all taken advantage of it, which is why we have everything that Trump managed to get accomplished in peace on the earth. Joe Biden messed it all up. North Korea is once again attempting to put a nuclear weapon on ICBM. Iran's doing the same thing. Iran supporting terrorism all around the globe, to include Hamas attacking Israel. We've got Russia attack Ukraine. The world's on fire because the world knows that the man in charge at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is weak, feeble, and old, and he doesn't have a clue what he's doing. It's weak leadership, period. There's no other way of putting it. I can't wait for the debates that he agreed to with Donald Trump. Can you imagine what that's going to be like? And they've already threw out some of their requests that in order to do it, these things have to happen. And one of them is they don't want it in front of a live audience. That's right. Joe Biden, who said, I'll meet you anywhere, anytime to debate you. Now his handlers said, we won't do it in front of a live audience. It just has to be the moderator, the cameraman, and the two of them. Why? Because they don't want the audience laughing at this joke that's pretending to be the world leader. And that's sad. Whether or not debates will happen, who knows? Either way, those in power and those that are handlers of Joe Biden are going to do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't happen, or that it's done in a way that protects the man the best they possibly can, because it's going to be a disaster. Folks, you have many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. As you go into Memorial Day weekend, again, please remember what this Memorial Day is for. It's for those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. It's not a time for celebration, although I believe that those that paid the ultimate sacrifice would want us to celebrate, would want us to have a beer or shot of whiskey or have a barbecue because they fought for our freedoms. But they would sure hope that you would remember them. And sadly, our youth is not. If you go anywhere this weekend, you're around a big crowd of young kids, let's just say high schoolers, hell, even college kids for that matter. Ask them what Memorial Day is about. What's the meaning of Memorial Day? And you're sadly going to find out that they don't know. It's just a day off. It's a day to party. If anything breaks between now and then, I'll be sure to do a video about it or do a live show. I'll be posting more information coming up in the community section of my YouTube channel, as well as on Facebook, about the People's Convention coming up in Detroit that I will be at, broadcasting live, and hope to meet you if you can come up there to the convention. I also have another engagement that I will be going to real soon that I will share with you in the coming days, where I will be in Oklahoma as the guest speaker at a Second Amendment convention that will be taking place. And I will share with you that information and where you can go if you live in and around Oklahoma to come to the convention, hear my speech, and also say hello. I'd like to shake your hand. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our Blue and Gold Star families, our country, the United States of America, all those that died for the freedoms that we have, that we sometimes take for granted. Thank you for joining me tonight. God bless you. And please be safe, whatever you're doing for this coming weekend and Memorial Day. God bless.